The stage lights hum softly as they warm up, washing the vast auditorium in a glow that feels both inviting and unforgiving. This is the kind of light that reveals everything. Every nervous breath, every doubt hiding behind a smile. The audience buzzes with anticipation, thousands of strangers waiting for something unforgettable, though most don't realize it yet. Then he walks out. He isn't young. He isn't flashy. He doesn't stride with the confidence of someone who believes the world owes him a moment. He steps carefully, almost apologetically, as if he's afraid he might be in the wrong place. His shoulders are slightly hunched, carrying the invisible weight of years that haven't been kind. His clothes are neat but worn, the kind you choose when you want to look respectable, not remarkable. A few people in the audience exchange quick glances. This isn't what they were expecting. He stops at center stage, the mark taped to the floor, and looks out at the sea of faces. For just a second, he freezes. The room feels too big, too loud, too important. His hands tremble, and he clasps them together, hoping no one notices. But the cameras notice everything. "Hey," he says softly. His voice barely reaches the back row. The judges lean forward slightly. Simon glances up then down again, pen resting loosely between his fingers. He's seen thousands like this, good people with big hopes and fragile confidence. Some leave triumphant, many leave broken. The room has learned to protect itself by expecting very little. "What's your name?" a judge asks. He swallows. "My name is Daniel." There's nothing special about the name. That's the point. Daniel could be anyone. He could be your neighbor, your coworker, the man who stands quietly behind you in line at the grocery store. "And where are you from, Daniel?" "A small town," he says. "Not far from here." The audience chuckles gently. He smiles, relieved that at least they're not laughing at him. "And what do you do for a living?" Simon asks, his tone neutral, professional. Daniel hesitates. This question always feels heavier than it should. "I used to work construction," he says carefully. "But things changed." Simon looks up this time. "Changed how?" Daniel takes a breath. He hadn't planned to explain this part. He wasn't sure he'd have the courage. But standing here under these lights, something tells him honesty matters more than polish. "My mom got sick," he says, "so I left my job to take care of her." The room quiets. He continues, words coming slower now. "She raised me by herself, worked 2 jobs, never complained. When she needed me I couldn't walk away, even if it meant starting over." There's no dramatic pause, no music swelling, just truth spoken plainly. "And why did you decide to come here?" another judge asks gently. Daniel's eyes drift downward, then back up, searching for the right words. "Because this is something I promised her I'd try. She used to say, if you love something, don't keep it hidden, share it." Simon shifts in his chair. "And what will you be singing today?" Simon asks. Daniel's lips press together. He knows this is the moment where opinions form instantly. The moment where people decide whether to lean in or lean back. "I'll be singing an Elvis song," he says. There it is. A ripple moves through the audience. A few smiles. A few raised eyebrows. Elvis is risky. Elvis is legendary. Elvis invites comparison and judgment. Simon tilts his head slightly. "Which one?" Daniel exhales. "Can't help falling in love." Some people nod. Others look unsure. It's been done before. Too many times on too many stages, by too many hopeful voices. Simon leans back, skeptical but curious.
"All right,"
he says, "whenever you're ready." But before the music starts, he speaks again, quietly, almost to himself. "This one's for my mom." The words barely register, but something about them lingers in the air. The band prepares. The first soft notes begin to play, familiar and gentle, like a memory you didn't know you were carrying. Daniel closes his eyes. For a brief moment he isn't on a stage. He's back in a small living room with worn furniture and a flickering lamp. His mother is humming along to the radio, cooking dinner after a long shift, smiling even though her feet ache. He remembers how she sang off key and laughed at herself. How music made hard days lighter. The audience doesn't know this yet. The judges don't know this yet. All they see is an ordinary man standing under extraordinary lights, about to sing a song the world thinks it already knows. No one expects history. No one expects silence. No one expects that, in just a few moments, one Elvis song will change everything. The opening chords drift through the theater like a soft exhale. Familiar, gentle, almost fragile. The kind of melody that doesn't demand attention, but invites it. For a moment, the audience settles back into their seats, assuming they know exactly where this is going. It's Elvis. They've heard this song 100 times before, at weddings, in movies, on old radios, humming late at night. Daniel stands still as the music plays its introduction. His eyes remain closed. His shoulders rise and fall with a deep breath, as if he's gathering something from deep inside himself. Something he's been carrying for years, waiting for the right moment to let go. Then he sings. Wise men say, the words are quiet, almost too quiet. Not the bold, confident opening people expect on a stage this big. A few audience members lean forward instinctively, afraid they might miss it. The room doesn't erupt. It doesn't gasp, it listens. His voice isn't polished, it doesn't soar or show off. Instead, it settles into the space like a warm hand resting on your shoulder. There's a slight rasp at the edge, a tremor that has nothing to do with nerves and everything to do with memory. It's the sound of someone who has lived through things music was never meant to fix, but tried to anyway. Simon looks up, not because the note was perfect but because it was honest. Daniel opens his eyes now, just enough to see the lights blurring into a soft glow. He doesn't look at the judges, he doesn't look at the cameras, his gaze drifts somewhere above the audience, as if he's singing to someone who isn't there anymore, but somehow still is. But I can't help, his voice catches slightly on the word help. He adjusts, breathes, and continues. It's subtle, many might miss it, but those who've ever held themselves together in public while falling apart inside feel it immediately. Something shifts in the room. A woman in the third row presses her hand to her chest, a man further back wipes his eyes quickly, hoping no one notices. The judges sit straighter in their chairs. This isn't background music anymore. This is something personal unfolding in real time. The song moves forward verse by verse, and with each line Daniel seems to grow steadier, not louder, not bigger, but truer. The fear that followed him onto the stage begins to loosen its grip. He's not trying to impress anyone now. He's remembering. The lights dim slightly, casting soft shadows across his face. For the cameras, it's beautiful. For Daniel, it feels like being wrapped in something familiar. Like sitting beside his mother on the couch, the two of them singing along to the radio, the world quiet for just a while. Take my hand. When he reaches that line, he lifts his hand unconsciously, palm open, fingers trembling just a little. It's not choreography, it's instinct. It's the same gesture he made in hospital rooms, in quiet moments, in goodbyes that were never supposed to come so soon. The audience feels it, even if they don't understand why. Simon's pen stops moving. He's seen big voices, he's heard technical perfection. He knows showmanship when it walks onto the stage wearing confidence like armor. But this is different. This is someone offering their heart without protection, without guarantees. As the chorus swells gently, the band pulls back, giving Daniel space. And in that space, his voice fills the room, not with power, but with presence. Each word lands softly, yet somehow deeper than expected. Like a river flows, a tear slips down Daniel's cheek. He doesn't wipe it away, he doesn't break. He sings through it, voice thick with emotion but steady enough to carry the song forward. The audience holds its breath, afraid that even breathing might break the moment. The judges exchange glances. This is no longer an audition, this is a confession. The final verse approaches and something remarkable happens. Daniel smiles, not a performance smile, a real one. The kind that comes when pain and gratitude exist in the same space. He's no longer alone on that stage, he's sharing the moment, with the audience, with the judges, with the memory of the woman who taught him how to love music in the first place. And so it goes. His voice softens even more now, as if he's singing directly into the hearts of everyone listening. The room feels smaller, warmer, connected. When he reaches the final line, "For I can't help falling in love with you," he lets the last word fade naturally, without forcing it, without chasing applause. The music stops, silence follows. Not the kind that makes people uncomfortable, the kind that means something sacred just happened. No one moves, no one speaks. Simon stares at Daniel, his expression unreadable. The audience waits, unsure whether to clap or simply sit with what they've just felt. For a few suspended seconds, the world seems to pause. And in that stillness, everyone realizes the same thing. They didn't just hear an Elvis song, they felt a life. The silence after the last note doesn't break right away. It lingers, stretching longer than anyone expects, as if the room itself needs time to breathe. Daniel stands still at center stage, his hand slowly lowering to his side, his chest rising and falling as he exhales the final emotion of the song. His eyes are glossy, but there's a calm in them now. Like he's said something he's been carrying for a very long time. The audience remains quiet, no clapping yet, no cheers, just thousands of people sharing a single moment they don't want to interrupt. Simon finally clears his throat, but even that small sound feels too loud. Daniel, he begins then stops. He shifts in his chair, searching for words that don't immediately come. That alone is unusual. Simon Cowell is known for sharp opinions, fast judgments and brutal honesty. But right now he looks human before he looks like a judge. Before Simon can continue, Daniel speaks. "I'm sorry," he says softly. "I didn't mean to get emotional." "No," one of the judges says gently. "Please don't apologize." Daniel nods, grateful. But something inside him has already been unlocked. The song opened a door, and once it's open, it's hard to pretend nothing's behind it. That song, Daniel continues, his voice steady but fragile, was my mom's favorite. A murmur ripples through the audience. He swallows, eyes briefly dropping to the floor before lifting again. She used to sing it around the house, all the time. Cooking, cleaning, especially when she was tired. He smiles faintly at the memory. The kind of smile that hurts and heals at the same time. She worked 2 jobs, he says. Sometimes 3. I didn't see her much when I was younger. But when I did there was always music. She believed songs could make hard days softer. The judges listen closely now. No one interrupts. No one rushes him when she got sick. Daniel continues, things changed fast. Hospital visits, long nights, machines beeping in the dark. His voice tightens for a moment, but he steadies himself. I used to sit by her bed and play that song on my phone. She couldn't always talk, but she'd squeeze my hand when it came on. The room feels heavier now, but not in a way that pushes people away, in a way that pulls them closer. She told me once, Daniel says, that love isn't about grand moments, it's about showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Simon nods almost imperceptibly. Daniel takes a breath. I stopped singing after she passed. For a long time, it felt wrong, like the music belonged to her, not me. A tear escapes again, and this time he lets it fall. But before she died, he continues, she made me promise something. She said, don't let fear make your world small. The words echo through the room. So I'm here, Daniel says simply. Not because I think I'm the best singer. And not because I expect anything. I'm here because she believed I should try. For a moment no one speaks. The audience begins to clap softly, not thunderous applause, but something gentler, respectful, understanding. The clapping grows but it never loses its tenderness. Simon leans forward, elbows on the table now. Daniel, he says carefully, thank you for sharing that. He pauses, choosing his next words with care. You know, we hear a lot of backstories on this stage. Some are sad, some are inspiring. But what stood out tonight is that you didn't use your story to ask for sympathy. Daniel looks up, surprised. You used it to give something, Simon continues. You gave us a moment. You gave us a reminder. The audience grows quiet again. One of the reasons that song worked, Simon says, was because you weren't trying to perform it. You were remembering it. And that's something people feel instantly. Daniel nods slowly. Another judge speaks up. It felt like you were singing to one person, but somehow, all of us heard it. That line hits deep. The audience reacts with murmurs of agreement. Daniel lets out a small shaky laugh. I think maybe I was. There's a softness in the room now. A sense that this audition has become something more than a test of talent. It's become a shared experience. One rooted in love, loss, and the quiet strength it takes to keep going. Simon looks at Daniel again, his voice lower this time. Your mom sounds like she was an incredible woman. She was, Daniel says without hesitation. She taught me kindness matters more than success. Simon sits back, eyes lingering on Daniel for a moment longer than usual. Well, he says finally, I think she'd be very proud of you. The audience erupts, not in wild cheers, but in heartfelt applause that fills the room with warmth. Daniel closes his eyes briefly, letting it wash over him. For the first time since he stepped onto the stage, he feels lighter. Like he's not carrying the weight alone anymore. And in that moment, everyone watching, whether in the room or across the world, understands something powerful. Sometimes, the most unforgettable performances aren't about hitting the right notes. They're about telling the truth. The applause slowly fades, but the energy in the room doesn't disappear with it. It settles instead, thick, warm, and electric, like something important has just shifted, and no one wants to be the first to disturb it. Daniel still stands at center stage, shoulders relaxed now, as if he's finally set something down that he's been carrying for years. Simon doesn't reach for his pen. That alone feels significant. He looks at Daniel again, not as a judge evaluating a contestant, but as a person meeting another person across a shared human moment. The usual sharpness in his expression is softened, replaced by something quieter, thoughtful, almost vulnerable. You know, Simon begins, then pauses. He exhales slowly, as if surprising himself with what he's about to say. I've been doing this a very long time. A few people in the audience nod instinctively. Everyone knows who Simon Cowell is. They know his reputation. They know how rare it is for him to hesitate. I've heard thousands of singers, he continues. Some technically brilliant, some unforgettable for the wrong reasons, but every once in a while someone comes along and reminds us why this show exists at all. Daniel listens, eyes wide, hardly blinking. Simon leans forward. Tonight wasn't about notes. It wasn't about range. It wasn't even about Elvis. A ripple of quiet laughter moves through the audience. It was about connection, Simon says. And that's something you can't fake. The room is silent again. I'll be honest, Simon adds, a small smile appearing. When you said you were singing Elvis, I thought, here we go. The audience chuckles more openly now. But then you sang the first line, Simon continues, and I stopped thinking. I just felt. Daniel's throat tightens. That doesn't happen to me very often anymore, Simon admits. And when it does I pay attention. One of the judges wipes at the corner of her eye, no longer trying to hide it. Another nods slowly, clearly moved. This song, says, wasn't just sung, it was given. The word hangs in the air. For a few minutes, Simon continues, you reminded everyone here of someone they love. Someone they've lost. Or someone they need to call when they get home. A murmur of agreement ripples through the audience. Phones are clutched tighter. Daniel swallows hard, emotion written plainly across his face. And that, Simon says quietly, is powerful. There's a pause, longer than the others. Then Simon does something no one expects. He stands up. The audience gasps, then erupts into applause. Not the explosive kind, this is deeper. Slower, it rolls through the theater like a wave of gratitude. Simon waits for the applause to settle before speaking again. I'm not speechless often, he says. But tonight I was. Daniel presses his lips together, overwhelmed. For someone who came out here thinking they didn't belong. Simon continues, you just reminded us all that sometimes the most ordinary people carry the most extraordinary stories. The other judges stand as well now, one by one, joining Simon. The audience rises with them. A full standing ovation. Daniel looks out at the crowd stunned, thousands of faces, thousands of strangers, and yet he's never felt less alone. He lifts a hand to his mouth, trying to steady his breathing. This, Simon says, gesturing around the room, is what happens when kindness meets courage. Daniel nods, tears streaming freely now. I don't know what happens next in this competition. Simon adds honestly. But I do know this, whatever happens tonight will be remembered. The applause swells again, louder this time, filling every corner of the theater. As the judges sit back down, the moment still clings to the air. Even the crew behind the cameras seem reluctant to move too quickly. Daniel remains standing, heart pounding, mind racing. One of the judges finally speaks. Daniel, no matter what this show brings you, don't stop singing. Another adds, and don't stop being exactly who you are. Daniel manages a small smile. I won't, he says, voice barely above a whisper. Simon looks at him one last time before the votes are cast. Your mom didn't just raise a good son, he says. She raised a good man. The audience reacts audibly to that. For Daniel, that sentence lands deeper than any trophy ever could. As the moment draws to a close and the lights begin to shift, one truth is clear, not just to Daniel, but to everyone watching. This audition didn't change because of a song. It changed because someone chose to show up with honesty, love, and an open heart. And sometimes that's enough to change everything. The lights soften as the moment finally begins to settle. The applause fades slowly, like waves pulling back from the shore, leaving behind something quieter but deeper. Daniel remains on the stage for a few seconds longer than planned, still absorbing what just happened. His heart is pounding, but not from fear anymore. It's from disbelief, gentle, overwhelming disbelief. He came here expecting judgment. He leaves carrying something else entirely. As he turns to walk off the stage, the audience rises again, almost instinctively, as if they don't want him to go just yet. He pauses, looking back once more, his eyes scanning the faces before him, strangers, thousands of them. Yet somehow they feel familiar now, connected by a moment they'll never quite be able to explain. Daniel nods quietly in gratitude and exits into the wings. Behind the curtain the noise fades, replaced by a sudden stillness that feels unreal. A stagehand offers him a bottle of water. He takes it, hand still shaking slightly, and presses it to his chest before taking a sip. His reflection catches in a nearby monitor, his own eyes red, his face flushed but lighter. Freer. He whispers something no one hears. Thank you, Mom. In the hallway, the world returns in fragments. Footsteps, murmured congratulations, quick pats on the shoulder. People smile at him in a way they didn't before. Not like he's a contestant, like he's someone who reminded them of something important. A producer tells him, you changed the room out there. Daniel doesn't know how to respond. He only knows that something inside him has shifted. The fear that once told him he wasn't enough has grown quieter, not gone but quieter, and that feels like a miracle. Later that night, long after the lights dim and the cameras stop rolling, the moment continues to ripple outward. A woman in the audience calls her father for the first time in years. A man replays the performance on his phone, remembering his late wife and the songs they used to dance to in their kitchen. Somewhere across the country, a young man watching from his couch picks up a guitar he hasn't touched since losing someone he loved, and strums a chord through tears. Daniel doesn't see any of this, but it happens because of him. Back in his small apartment, Daniel sits alone, the quiet pressing in gently. He sets his jacket over a chair and sinks onto the couch. The same couch where his mother once sat, humming Elvis songs under her breath. He closes his eyes, letting the memories come, not as pain this time, but as warmth. For the first time since she passed, he doesn't feel like the music belongs to the past, it belongs to the future. His phone buzzes with messages, old friends, distant relatives, people he hasn't heard from in years. But one message stands out, a simple text from an unknown number. Thank you for reminding me that it's okay to feel. Daniel stares at the screen for a long moment. That's when he understands what tonight was really about. It wasn't about advancing in a competition, it wasn't about recognition, it was about connection. Days turn into weeks. Life doesn't magically become easier. Bills still arrive, responsibilities still weigh heavy, but something inside Daniel has changed. He sings again. In the kitchen, in the car, sometimes quietly, sometimes with tears, always with honesty. Music becomes what it was always meant to be, not an escape from life, but a companion through it. When he steps onto the stage again, whether on this show or somewhere smaller, he carries the same lesson with him. You don't need perfection to be powerful. You don't need approval to matter. You only need the courage to show up as you are. And somewhere in the quiet space between memory and hope, his mother's voice feels close again, soft, proud, and full of love. The story doesn't end with a trophy, it ends with a beginning. Because sometimes, one Elvis song doesn't just change a moment, it changes a life, and in doing so, it reminds the world of something simple, enduring, and true. Kindness shared is never wasted, love expressed is never forgotten, and even the quietest voice can still change everything.